so I don't give a fuck what anybody else thinks about it. How's it going, everyone? This is Daniel, always keeping it raw and real. And I know I haven't made a opinion and discussion video in a while, so I just been really active on my gameplay videos. So I'm finally gonna be able to do my own opinion and discussion for Castlevania Season 4 on Netflix. And just to start off, I didn't do a Season 3 review because though I thought it was good, I didn't think it was necessary to do either a review or a discussion video on it. But this one, of course, it was the last season of the series completely, and I wish it could have gone longer. I mean, 4 seasons wasn't enough for me, and this was the best, to me, in my opinion, interpretation of Castlevania or any video game adaptation ever. And it's not without its flaws. I mean, every season, every series has its flaws, and they did somewhat stay true to the game adaptation, which was from Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, and that one is probably my favorite Castlevania game at the time in the early 90s. So I really loved the series, and anything about Castlevania I enjoy. I mean, Castlevania is one of my favorite games ever of all time. It's one of the best games that they ever made. And just to get right at it, I'm gonna try to make it as quick as possible, and I hate doing long videos. So they start off with Trevor and Sypha leaving Lindenfeld after what happened, that calamity that happened in Lindenfeld with the night creature, the infinite corridor, all that. And now not only have they become a very powerful duo as far as demon hunting and vampire hunting, they seem to be getting stronger, and they're just getting better as a team. But it seems that the harder and stronger they become, the harder the hunting and the night creatures, the demons, the vampires are getting. Either they're starting to overwhelm them, or for them it's just getting harder. They have to fight more and sleep less, just in my opinion, how I see it. And Trevor and Sypha are probably, to me, not leaving Alucard out, but Trevor and Sypha are what really took a hold of me as far as the series goes, because Alucard, I love Alucard. I mean, I really love Alucard, and his character is on point, spot on, in my opinion. But I just relate to Trevor probably more than all 3 of them, and they're not oversaturating with this season the characters. And they're, as far as Trevor and Sypha goes, they're really struggling. They, like I said, they rest. They don't even have a chance to rest. I mean, they only rest for so long, and yet they have to keep battling, keep hunting, keep fighting, trying to save lives, trying to pick off these vampires, demons, night creatures, however. So, and they're trying to bring back Dracula. So that in itself is, everybody wants to bring Dracula back, and they're trying their best to not let anybody really bring him back, because the whole point was to kill Dracula. And now it's getting harder for them to, as it looks in the series, season 4, that all these vampires are trying to bring him back. So that got kind of old to me. That's one little nitpick that I'll say. It got kind of old because they were sticking with the same storyline of trying to bring back Dracula. And to me, that got kind of old in season 3. So that's why I didn't do a review on it. But this review, yeah, I'm going to say what I mostly just liked about it. I'll get to the negatives at the end. But yeah, okay, so we're down to Trevor and Sypha. They're trying their best to get rid of what night creatures and vampires and demons that they can. They run into some royal guard named Zamfir, and they're just doing their thing. They're struggling, they get less sleep, and they fight more. And then now I'm going to move on to Isaac and what happened to Isaac as far as killing that evil wizard that actually took control of a whole city. And he is probably one of the more interesting characters, just in my opinion, because he like found his own path now. He found his own path. He's thinking for himself outside of what other people wanted him to think. Like, he was a servant of Dracula, he was a forge master. Now he's being able to think for himself. He's even having conversations with the night creatures he created, which was another good, it was a good plot. I enjoyed it. And the night creatures, as far as the ones that he creates, seem to have more personality now. And he's not using them as really soldiers of death and his soldiers of war, because he wanted to get revenge on Carmilla for what the conspiracy she planned against Dracula, which led to Dracula being killed. So yeah, he's one of the more interesting characters, and the fact that he's thinking for himself, and he's starting to think to himself that why am I going to be just part of somebody else's story when he can be the main part of his own story and be his own person. And that to me is very, very awesome. And it does relate, because anybody who wants to be anybody, you want to follow your own path, you want to do what you want. And even with his night creatures, he's little by little he grew through his whole journey, as far as being thrown to a desert by Dracula because Dracula felt sorry for him and threw him to one of the mirrors, and he's, you know, having to find out where he's at, and then he wants to take revenge on Carmilla. And through all of this journey that he's gone through, he's learning, and he's starting to learn more about himself and what he should really do, or what he really wants to do. Instead of being just a little part in somebody else's story, he can be his own person in his own story. So that to me is really cool. That's really awesome. And now I'm gonna get to Hector and him being a slave to Lenore, the diplomatic vampire, and of course to Striga and Marana, whatever fuck her name is, and Carmilla. So Hector is also an interesting character, but fuck did he go through a lot of shit, man. Hector went through a lot of fucking shit, man. He was really naive in season 2, and season 3 he was just treated like fuck, man. He was treated so bad and went through so much shit. Was just he's still a pawn in Carmilla's chessboard, and that really sucks. You know, he went through a lot of shit. Poor fucking Hector, man. I'll be thinking to myself, man, this guy's been through a lot of shit. And anyways, but besides getting to that, now he's trying to make his own magical hammer to start making night creatures for Carmilla's army. And him and Lenore still have a connection. I think she generally does give a shit about him, you know, but if not, she's just using him for her own ends, just as Carmilla uses the other three, Striga, Marana, and Lenore, for her own ends. And yeah, I mean, he's really just a pawn, but now he's, as far as him giving off this really docile, non-confrontational forge master that knows more than just devil forging, he's starting to conspire a plan to bring back Dracula, which was always like, oh man, they're always trying to bring back Dracula. So while he's doing all of this, trying to make the right magical weapon, he's plotting, and he has his own agenda to either escape or to take down Carmilla and her castle. And to me, that was like, yeah, I knew he wasn't just gonna be naive and easy to control. I knew he was gonna have his own scheme and he was gonna be doing something generally planning. And then you see that he's using also a mirror. I think it's a communication mirror. I didn't really get. I should have watched it before I did this review. But yeah, he was using this mirror to communicate with other people who are also in league with bringing back Dracula. And yeah, that was also cool. And man, you know what? I'll start with some negatives. And to me, besides Striga being a very cool warrior, and her and Marana being some types of generals, and they're in some part of Styria or wherever the fuck they're at, and they're by some forest or whatever, and they're just bickering, and to me that was the least interesting part of the series. And they didn't really show them that much, which was good, because I mean, and I'm this is just my opinion. I'm not trying to bash on Marana and Striga, and I know they're lesbians and there's nothing wrong with that, and I'm not homophobic. I'm just letting you guys know that. It's just that their characters, when they were brought into, I think it was season 3, I didn't really find any kind of interest in them, and to me they were kind of useless. But seeing Striga in her day armor and going out there and slaughtering farmers and villagers and any type of peasants that you can think of, and she slaughters the shit out of them, man. Like, this is really gory. This season is, they fucking at the gore galore. And that was also one of the best parts of this series, because they really went all fucking out, man. They really went all out with the gore. And yeah, and Striga freaking annihilating and destroying all of those villagers and the horses and everything. And then she goes back into the tent where she put Marana, her lover, inside of that chest, so she won't burn up in the sunlight and she won't get hit by arrows. And she comes back in. She tells Marana that, yeah, you know what? I saw fear in these villagers and these farmers, but it wasn't fear of dying. It was fear of not having fought, not dying, and not fighting for a purpose, and wanting to protect those that they love and protect, you know, their villages and everything like that. And that was probably the only cool part that I saw as far as them being shown on, I think it was episode 3 or 4. No, it was episode 3. And yeah, but as far as that, I couldn't care less for those two characters. I mean, all of the voice actors were great, like phenomenal in this series. But just in my opinion, those two, and there's a lot of other characters that I really didn't care for, and just Striga and Marana I didn't really care for them. And actually with Lenore to me was the only very interesting one, even over Carmilla, because she's the only one that has that type of humanity. She still has a shred of humanity in her, and she's the diplomatic vampire that does all the talking and does all the planning when it comes to Styria and being Carmilla's second. And yeah, she's the only one that shows a shred of humanity, and that's why she was, to me, the most intriguing. And then Carmilla, Carmilla was cool in season 2. Season 3, she didn't really do shit, and this is just my opinion. And the only thing good about Carmilla was that she showed that she can actually battle, using a sword, and she's not just some eye candy vampire that's a queen and all this shit, and her being mad at the world, and she's just totally pissed off at the world. Nobody, I couldn't care less. But the fact that she was shown battling and getting down with those night creatures, and the freaking pool of blood, her pretty much ice skating on those stilettos in the blood when they were battling, and then like I said, and then Isaac talking with Hector and telling Hector that my plan was never to kill you. I just wanted to say that, you know what, we were just kids. Like, revenge is for kids. He said revenge is for children, and we need to live our own lives and make our own path. And this kind of resonates with Hector, and Hector puts Lenore in some kind of cage, some magical cage, and he even tells Isaac, don't kill her. You can kill all the other ones. You can kill all the other female vampires in Carmilla's court, but don't kill her. She let me live, and I care about her, and she's the only one that actually gives a shit about me. So yeah, okay, he doesn't. Isaac does not kill Lenore, but Isaac and Hector come up with a plan to put Carmilla, to trap her in her own quarters. And Hector was busy, like I said, he was conspiring already with like a few months before that. So he set a plan up. He gave Isaac some tools to lay the trap for Carmilla, and then Isaac makes amends with Hector. He goes, confronts Carmilla with his badass freaking, to me it looked like a innocent devil from the Castlevania game Curse of Darkness, and it was one of the innocent devils, but it was Isaac's innocent devil, and the one with the 4 eyes, like that shit was sick, man. That shit was sick, and that one was really like one of the main reasons why Isaac took out Carmilla. And I mean, it was even funny, man, because Carmilla, you know, she's killing all these night creatures, but then when Isaac starts to battle her, I mean, he's like picking her apart little by little. And Isaac's human, and that's what tripped me out. Like, he's human, but he's a dangerous, lethal motherfucker. And he's had all this time through all these journeys, you know, doing all this battling with guards and authority figures, and he's just really like, fuck, man, he's a lethal motherfucker. And plus, with his night creatures that are a little more advanced than Hector's, they're all dangerous, and they all freaking pick Carmilla apart. And like I said, just to make it fast, I mean, it was a great battle. Isaac picked Carmilla apart, and I was like, thank you. I mean, I couldn't stand Carmilla, man. She's that kind of vampire bitch that you want to hate, and it worked for me. And she did a great job. The voice acting, I forgot her name. I think it was Jamie Murray, but she did a fantastic job as Carmilla. I mean, fantastic. But yeah, I hated Carmilla, man. I hated her, and she's like I said, she's that antagonist you love to hate, and it worked for me, and it was great. And they took her out little by little. They were picking her apart, and then she went out like a coward. Carmilla went out like a fucking coward, which I was like, when she did that, man, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, she's talking all this shit, you're nothing, and I'm a queen, and I am Styria, and I am nothing but ambition. I'm like, shut the fuck up, man. I'm like, whatever. You're not Dracula. You sure as hell ain't Dracula, man. And you're not Death. You're not the Grim Reaper. So that's where I was like, yeah, fuck that chick, man. But no, but just my opinion, the character, Carmilla. But Jamie Murray, the actress that did the voice acting and did the voice overdubs, fucking beautiful. Beautiful. But man, I mean, I was glad that she killed herself, and that showed how much of a freaking coward she was. And she'd rather kill herself than be killed, you know. And she's like, you know, no honor, nothing. So then throw that out of the way. So yeah, so that was great for me. And then Hector chopping off his finger so Carmilla can lose control of the night creatures, because I'm pretty sure you saw season 3 when Lenore actually deceived Hector and put a ring. It's like a vampire curse or spell that she put on him, and that gives control to Striga, Lenore, Marana, and Carmilla. And he chopped off his own finger just so they can lose control, so it would be easier for Isaac to take out Carmilla. So that was also smart. And yeah, I mean, it was just great, man. It was just totally great. And then now we get to Alucard, and man, like, Alucard also went through some shit, man. Being deceived and being fucked over by 2 younger Japanese hunters that were aspiring hunters, and they just screwed him over, man, for their own fucking gain. And I was like, man, like, that was, to me, that was kind of a sorry way to end season 3. But man, that was so fucked up, man. And Alucard, man, like, that's not the first time he's been fucked over. Is even with Trevor, having to fight Trevor and prove his worth, and even Sypha was gonna actually incinerate Alucard in season 1. if he didn't yield on Trevor, trying to kill Trevor. So, but I mean, he actually gained the friendship. He earned their trust. He earned Trevor and Sypha's trust, and they earned Alucard's trust. And Alucard is the only one. He was like, he considers them like he considers those two, Sypha and Trevor, his only real friends. Until now, we get to Dynasty. Freaking Alucard is, looking all grimy and freaking drinking nothing but wine, getting drunk all the time, and freaking killing night creatures and putting on stakes like his dad, the Impaler Lord, Vlad Tepes. And yeah, man, it was crazy. But what was cool was that he still has that human side to him, and that's when a horse with a dead rider comes and from that town Dynasty. And the Dynasty is kind of the reference to, I think it's not a full reference, but it's for Grant Dynasty, the acrobat that came out in Castlevania 3. And I think some people say it's not, but to me, in my opinion, it's just a homage to Grant, because I think Warren Ellis didn't like that character, but he can go fuck himself. But anyway, just a quick little for your information. So now he sees this young rider bringing a letter to Alucard from the town Dynasty that is struggling with night creatures. Their people are getting killed. It's like more of a settlement than any kind of battle arranged fort. So he reads it, cleans up, decides to go and help this and find out what's going on with this town. And he shows up on that same horse, and him and the horse are going back and forth, which is funny, man. I mean, it has this comic relief too, which is good, and I enjoy it. But yeah, I mean, it was just crazy. And he goes there on the horse, fights these armored night creatures that are trying to break through the defenses of the village Dynasty, and he slaughters these motherfuckers, man. He slaughters them. He's still kind of drunk, on wine and shit, but he's just, Alucard is Alucard. He's fucking amazing. He's stealthy, he's powerful, he's almost as strong as Dracula, and he tears these motherfuckers up, has his enchanted sword, has brought out the shield from Castlevania Symphony of the Night, PlayStation when it came out, and it's amazing, man. I mean, I probably didn't get to everything, but he ends up talking with them, and then he meets Greta, who is the head of the village, and she's a pretty formidable woman herself, and she's also a warrior and has a background in fighting. And I don't know if it's directly warfare, but she is also a warrior in her own right. And then here comes Saint Germain, man. I knew he was gonna come back into this. I knew he was gonna come back, and Saint Germain shows up. He's inside of a fucking latrine, scared as shit, not wanting to, because he's not a fighter, he's just a scholar. But it was just funny when he stepped out and started talking to Alucard, even knowing who Alucard was. And yeah, and then Alucard, with his soft little voice and his demeanor being chilled out, and saying, Greta saying, "Can you help us?" And Alucard's like, "Sure, I think I can do something for you." And then she really gets in his face and said, "Are you going to help us or not?" And she convinces him, she's really a selfless type of leader, wants to save her people or anybody within Wallachia who is suffering from the attacks and from all this bullshit that's going on with wanting to bring back Dracula, and also people sacrificing children to death, the death god. That's crazy. And the Grim Reaper. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, Alucard was in this first half of this season, and it was awesome, man. Alucard with the shield doing his thing. He's a freaking Dampier, so he's more powerful than most. So, and man, I mean, he's awesome. Like I said, I mean, I love all three of them. I'm more connected to Sypha and Trevor, but Alucard is freaking badass and he's amazing. And those are the top three. Those are the main three for me. Not only probably are they the main three of the series, but to me, those are the ones I followed even since back then when I used to play the game on Nintendo. So yeah, but you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna cut this short. I'm gonna just say, I'm gonna make it in two halves. I'm gonna do the first part of season 4 today, and then I'll just do season the rest of season 4 another day. So yeah, I mean, I'm already going at 25, so I don't want to make it too long. But yeah, that's what I'll stop at. And yeah, so the first 5 episodes are great, and that's what I talked about right now. And I'll just do the other 5 another day, because yeah, I don't. It's already almost 30 minutes, so I don't want to go that long. And editing is just a pain in the ass. So, but yeah, there you have it. I didn't really get to everything, and like I said, I always do my either my reviews or my opinion and discussion videos always raw and real. I don't like to script. I hate scripting. I just like to say it, what's on my mind, right there, right in front of you, and when it's just fresh. So there you have it, G Freaks and Castlevania fanatics. There's my first opinion and discussion video, and everybody does reviews, so yeah, just opinion and discussion for me. So okay, I hope you guys have a good day. This is Daniel, the Sci-Fi Sentry, always keeping it raw and real. If you haven't seen it, check out Castlevania, the Netflix series, season 4, which is freaking awesome, and check it out if you haven't seen it. So also like, share, subscribe, all that shit. So I hope you guys have a good one. So I'm out.